7, Sons of Drona punished. Text number 4. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite male apashyat purusham purnam mayam cha tadapashrayam. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite male
Yak pranihite male
apashyat purusham purnam
apashyat
mayam cha tadapashrayam. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite male apashyat purusham purnam mayam cha tadapashrayam. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite male apashyat purusham purnam
mayam cha tadapashrayam.
mayam cha tadapashrayam.
bhakti yogena manasi
Bhakti yogena manasi
samyak pranihite male
samyak pranihite male
apashyat purusham purnam
apashyat purusham purnam
mayam cha tad apashrayam.
mayam cha tadapashrayam.
Bhakti yogena manasi
Bhakti yogena manasi
samyak pranihite male
samyak pranihite male
apashyat purusham purnam
apashyat purusham purnam
mayam chadapashrayam.
mayam cha tadapashrayam.
Bhaktina yogena manasi
Bhakti yogena manasi
samyak pranihite male
samyak pranihite male
apashyat purusham purnam
apashyat purusham purnam
mayam cha tad apashrayam.
mayam cha tadapashrayam.
Bhakti yogena manasi
Bhakti yogena manasi
samyak pranhite male
samyak pranihite male
apasyat purusam purnam
apashyat purusham purnam
mayam chad apasrayam.
mayam cha tadapashrayam.
Bhakti yogena manasi
Bhakti yogena manasi
samyak pranite male
pranihite male
apashyat purusham purnam
apashyat purusham purnam
mayam chatat aparshayam.
mayam cha tadapashrayam.
Bhakti yogena manasi
Bhakti yogena manasi
samyak prahanite male
samyak pranihite male
apasyat purusam purnam
apashyat purusham purnam
mayam sadat aparshayam.
mayam cha tadapashrayam.
Bhakti yogena manasi
Bhakti yogena manasi
samyak pranihite male
samyak pranihite male
apashyat purusham purnam
apashyat purusham purnam
mayam chatadapashrayam.
mayam cha tadapashrayam.
Bhakti yogena manasi
Bhakti yogena manasi
samyak pranihite male
samyak pranihite male
apashyat purusham purnam
apashyat purusham purnam
mayam cha tadapashrayam.
mayam cha tadapashrayam. Anybody online? Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite male apashyat purusham purnam mayam cha tadapashrayam. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite male pashyat purusham purnam Mayam cha tadapashrayam. Bhakti yogena manasi. Samyak pranihite male. Apashyad purusham purnam. Mayam cha tadapashrayam. Synonyms: bhakti, devotional service.
Devotional service.
Yogena,
Yogena.
by the process of linking up.
By the process of linking up.
Manasi,
Manasi.
upon the mind.
Upon the mind.
Samyak,
Samyak.
perfectly.
Perfectly.
Pranihite,
Pranihite.
engaged in and fixed upon.
Engaged in and fixed upon.
Amale,
Amale.
without any matter.
Without any matter.
Apashyat,
Pashyat.
sa,
Sa.
Purusham,
Purusham.
the personality of Godhead.
The personality of Godhead.
Purnam,
Purnam.
absolute.
Absolute.
Mayam,
Mayam.
energy.
Energy.
Cha,
Cha.
also.
Also.
Tat,
Tat.
his.
His.
Apashrayam,
Pashrayam.
under full control.
Under full control.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: thus he fixed his mind, perfectly engaging it by linking it in devotional service, bhakti yoga, without any tinge of materialism. And thus he saw the absolute personality of Godhead along with his external energy, which was under full control. Translation with repetition: thus he fixed his mind, perfectly engaging it by linking it in devotional service, bhakti yoga,
Bhakti yoga.
without any tinge of materialism.
Without any tinge of materialism.
And thus he saw the absolute personality of Godhead
Thus he saw the absolute personality of Godhead,
along with his external energy,
along with his external energy,
which was under full control.
which was under full control.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Perfect vision of the absolute truth is possible only by the linking process of devotional service. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. One can perfectly realize the absolute truth, personality of Godhead, only by the process of devotional service, and one can enter into the kingdom of God by such perfect knowledge. Imperfect realization of the absolute by the partial approach of the impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma does not permit anyone to enter into the kingdom of God. Sri Narada advised Srila Vyasadeva to become absorbed in transcendental meditation on the personality of Godhead and his activities. Srila Vyasadeva did not take notice of the effulgence of Brahman because that is not absolute vision. The absolute vision is the personality of Godhead as it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7:19, Vasudevaha Sarvamiti. In the Upanishads also it is confirmed that Vasudev, the personality of Godhead, is covered by the golden glowing Hiranyamayana Patrena, the wheel of impersonal Brahman. And when that curtain is removed by the mercy of the Lord, the real face of the Absolute is seen. The Absolute is mentioned here as the Purusha or person. The absolute personality of Godhead is mentioned in so many Vedic literatures. And in the Bhagavad Gita, the Purusha is confirmed as the eternal and original person. The absolute personality of Godhead is the perfect person. The Supreme Person has manifold energies, out of which the internal, external, and marginal energies are specifically important. The energy mentioned here is the external energy, as will be clear from the statements of her activities. The internal energy is there along with the absolute person as the moonlight is there with the moon. The external energy is compared to darkness because it keeps the living entities in the darkness of ignorance. The word apashrayam suggests that this energy of the Lord is under full control. The internal potency or superior energy is also called Maya, but it is spiritual Maya, or energy exhibited in the absolute realm. When one is under the shelter of this internal potency, the darkness of material ignorance is at once dissipated. And even those who are Atmaram or fixed in trance take shelter of this Maya or internal energy. Devotional service or bhakti yoga is the function of the internal energy, and thus there is no place for the inferior energy or material energy, just as there is no place for darkness in the effulgence of spiritual light. Such internal energy is even superior to the spiritual bliss attainable in the conception of impersonal Brahman. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the impersonal Brahman, effulgence, is also an emanation from the absolute personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The Parama Purusha cannot be anyone except Sri Krishna himself, as will be explained in the later slokas. Thus ends the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vyasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So it's a wonderful verse that we have today. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite male apasyat purusham purnam mayam cha tadapashrayam. So this is now Vedavyasa's vision, and what Vedavyas saw is going to be described here. We saw in the last class, last verse, Tasmin swashrame vyaso badari sandamandite asinopa upasprishya pranidadhyu manah swayam. So in his own ashram, Vedavyas was surrounded by berry trees, and he sat down to meditate after touching water for purification. Asino apa upasprishya. He touched the water of river Saraswati, and then pranidadhyu. He concentrated his mind. Pranidadhyu manah swayam. His own mind he concentrated. And when he concentrated, what did he see? That's what they are seeing. That's what we are seeing here. And what kind of concentration was that? That is clarified here in this verse. Bhakti yogena manasi. The process of concentration or the process of linking was Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yogena Manasi, his mind, he used the process of Bhakti Yoga to link his mind. Samyak pranihite male. Samyak is completely, perfectly. Pranihite male. Pranihite is translated by Prabhupada as engaged in and fixed up. So by the process of Bhakti Yoga, he used his mind, samyak, completely and perfectly in fixing on the Supreme Lord. And how was the fixing of the mind on the Supreme Lord? It was amale. It was free from contamination. It was free from all the tinge of material contamination. Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Pranihite Male. And when he did that, what did he see? Apasyat Purusham Purnam. He saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the complete, perfect personality of Godhead, Apashyat Purusham Purnam, Mayam Chatadapashrayam, and also saw that the external energy of the Lord is completely surrendered, standing behind the Lord. That is the verse. So thus he fixed his mind. He is Vedavyas. He fixed his mind, Manasi Samyak Pranihite, by perfectly engaging it, by linking it in devotional service, Bhakti Yogena, without any tinge of materialism, Amale. And thus he saw Apasyat. What did he saw? Purusham Purnam, the absolute personality of Godhead, and along with his external energy, Mayam, which was under full control, Tadapashrayam. So this is the wonderful verse that we have. Actually, the vision of Vedavyas, what he is going to see, is a wonderful revelation for all of us, conditioned living entities in this material world. And these verses are real gems, and Prabhupada's purport is wonderful, where he explains all these points very, very detailed way. So we are trying to see what did Srila Vyasadeva see in his perfection. And the first line of the purport, Prabhupada is writing that perfect vision of the absolute truth is possible only by the linking process of devotional service. This statement is very, very loaded. Because Prabhupada is saying to see the absolute truth, first of all, you have to see the absolute truth. The truth is not just any truth, but it has to be absolute. First, one should be interested in seeing the truth. Then, amongst the truth, there is the absolute truth. But that absolute truth can be understood or seen if there is a perfect vision. So, how do you get the perfect vision? You get the perfect vision by the linking process of devotional service. When somebody engages in devotional service, the vision becomes perfect, which allows him or enables him to see or understand the truth, which is absolute. Perfect vision of the absolute truth is possible only by the linking process of devotional service. What happens if we don't have perfect vision, or what do we see when our vision is blurred? Usually all of us, we know this problem that we have, many of us have in our eyes, called cataract. If you can see this picture here, this is called the pupil, or what is it called? The eyeball. The eyeball is clear, but here it is little blurred, and there is cataract. So when there is a cataract, then the vision or the perception of truth that we have in life becomes very different. Nobody in this world will say that I am living for some lies. Nobody will say that what I am trying to do is false. Everybody, whatever they are doing, whatever they are acting, whatever they are concentrating, they are endeavoring, they think that they are doing for something which is tangible, which is truth, which is real. But then the definition of real, tangible and truth is not clear when the vision is blurred with material contaminations. Let us understand this a little bit. So a person who has got this vision of cataract, what does he think? It is the extreme, full cataract. Then as we have seen this verse earlier also in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, divine and demoniac nature, this verse comes, asatyam apratishtamte jagadahur anishwaram aparaspara sambhutam kimanyat kama ahetukam. Asatyam apratishtamte. The first thing is they don't understand or they don't accept that there is a supreme Lord who is behind this creation. There is a creator who has created this Lord. They think that this material world has no basis, it is temporary, it is asatyam, it is a lie. Asatyam apratishtamte. There is no basis for this world, there is no Lord behind this creation, and this world is meant for kama hetukam. Just satisfy your senses, just gratify your senses. Asatyam apratishtamte jagadahur anishwaram. No Ishvara is there. The reason why they have this kind of a vision is they want to become the most powerful. They want to take the position of the Supreme Lord. In our own lives, if we see also, we want to grow in our material prosperity in terms of wealth, position, in terms of power, so that we can take the position of the Supreme Lord. Even the richest, the wealthiest people in this world, they try to have more and more money so that they can exercise more control. The countries also want to have more sovereignty, more power, so that they can have more control over the whole world. This is the mentality of people who do not understand that there is a Lord who is behind the creation, and who do not understand that this material world is temporary, and everything that is there, every manifestation, every single thing in this material world belongs to the Lord. They don't understand that. Even people, for that matter, Ganji, how much tax you pay? Yeah, percentage. 30. Even people who are normal people who are earning money, who want to have a normal life, also think, looking at these people, that they should also save money. They should protect their money in some way or other. There is something called tax shelter. Do you know that? Balam bro, what is tax shelter? Yeah. Tax shelter is basically some way if you can fudge or don't show, or you have money so that you can save that instead of paying to the government who takes away the taxes. I am told there is a state in the U.S., South Dakota, where people have very less, they have to pay very less income tax or something. Or for that matter, if you, at least when I was growing up, I had heard about the Swiss bank account, where the person's name is not there, just number will be there, and people keep money there, store it so that they can enjoy. They can have more power to control, they have more power to manipulate, and they can use the resources in their own way. Even if they are normal people, they have very normal aspirations, but they also get into this mode. This is called asatyam apratishtamte, because we want to be safe, secure, and we want to enjoy till eternity. But then Prahlad Maharaj, this is a perverted reflection of the truth. Prahlad Maharaj says this verse, which is so powerful in Bhagavatam. Kutra shisha shruti shukha mrigatrishni rupaha kvedam kalevaram asesha rujam viroha nirvidyate natu jano yad apiti vidvan kamanalam madhulabai samyan durapai. Kutra sisa shruti sukha. Kutra sisa, where is that happiness that you are looking for? Kutra sisa shruti sukha. We just have heard that we can enjoy in this material world in this way or that way. Kutra sisa shruti sukha mrigatrishni rupaha. The aspiration of happiness in this material world is like a mrigatrishna. Mrigatrishna is like a mirage, which appears that there is water in this, which can quench my thirst by this way, by that way, by saving money, by fudging, by taking some tax, this thing, or creating some account, false this thing, so all these ways so that I can be happy in this material world. But he's telling kutra sisa shruti sukha mrigatrishni rupaha kvedam kalevaram asesharujam viroha. Kvedam kalevaram, this sarira, this body with which we want to enjoy this material world, is asesharujam. Asesharujam means it's a storehouse of unlimited diseases. Kvedam kalevaram asesharujam viroha nirvidyate natu jano yad apiti vidvan kama nalam madhulabai samyan durapai. Very beautiful poetic expression. In this material world, every living entity desires some fruitive happiness, some future happiness, which is exactly like a mirage in the desert. These are called kama bijas, a desire which is put in our heart. Somehow or other, if I work on this seed, if I fructify this seed and it becomes a tree, then I'll be happy. Kutra sisa shruti sukha. I've heard that other person who is working in this so-and-so company or has gone to this so-and-so college or university, has got so-and-so degree, is very happy in life. Maybe, that acts as a seed in my heart. Or I saw someone eating in a very delicious manner, something which is very tempting, or some advertisement, it creates a seed, karma bija. Kutra sisa. Then I work hard towards it. Maybe if I get into Harvard University, maybe if I get into MIT, maybe if I get into something, then life will be great. And then we chase, but it is like a mirage. When we reach there, we realize this is just futile. In this material world, every living entity desires some future happiness, which is exactly like a mirage in the desert. Where is water in the desert? Or in other words, where is happiness in this material world? As for this body, what is its value? It is merely a store. It's merely a source of various diseases. The so-called philosophers, scientists, and politicians know this very well, but nonetheless they aspire for temporary happiness. Happiness is very difficult to obtain, but because they are unable to control their senses, they run after the so-called happiness of the material world and never come to the right conclusion. These are wonderful instructions. When somebody's vision is blurred, when somebody is not able to see, when somebody is madly engrossed, one is gross influence of the lower modes of material nature, ignorance, where one just thinks that sense gratification, immediately whatever is available, that is good for me. Little more advanced, then he thinks, okay, let me work hard. Let me achieve that position, then I'll be happy. That is passion. But somebody, when he crosses this ignorance and passion, he comes to this understanding. Why am I working hard for this? What is the need? There is no happiness in this material world. That is the cusp where somebody can transcend this influence of the modes of material nature and understand the reality, the supreme reality, the supreme absolute truth. That is mode of goodness. And not the ultimate thing, but at least it helps one to transcend. It brings one to this position where one thinks about this. Otherwise, a person who's completely in the mode of ignorance, always sleepy or passionate, he cannot have the desire to or the eagerness to come and even sit in the class to hear. They're not busy, they're not in the position. But somehow or other, if somebody comes to the mode of goodness, then he looks for the solution, he looks for this absolute truth. Our position in this material world, okay, let me read the purport actually, wonderful purport, I didn't want to skip this. There is a song in the Bengali language which states, I constructed this home for happiness, but unfortunately there was a fire and everything has now been burned to ashes. This is what happens to us. We build so many things with this hope, with this belief, with this firm conviction that I'll be happy with all these things. But in the fire of time, everything is burned to ashes. I constructed this home for happiness, but unfortunately there was a fire and everything has now been burned to ashes. This illustrates the nature of material happiness. Everyone knows it, but nonetheless one plans to hear or think of something very pleasing. Unfortunately, all of one's plans are annihilated in due course of time. There were many politicians who planned empires, supremacy and control of the world. But in due time, all their plans and empires, and even the politicians themselves, were vanquished. Everyone should take lessons from Prahlad Maharaj about how we are engaged in so-called temporary happiness through bodily exercises for sense enjoyment. All of us repeatedly make plans, which are all repeatedly frustrated. Therefore, one should stop such plan making, as one cannot stop a blazing fire by constantly pouring ghee upon it. One cannot satisfy oneself by increasing plans for sense enjoyment. The blazing fire is Bhava Mahadava Agni, the forest fire of material existence. This forest fire occurs automatically without endeavor. We want to be happy in this material world, but this will never be possible. We shall simply increase the blazing fire of desires. Our desires cannot be satisfied by illusory thoughts and plans. Rather, we have to follow the instructions of Lord Krishna, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja. Then we shall be happy. Otherwise, in the name of happiness, we shall continue to suffer miserable conditions. It's a very powerful verse and talks about what is our position and how this repeated desires that we are producing in our heart, instead of satisfying us, giving us that happiness, is making us burn within. That's called the Bhava Mahadava Agni, the forest fire of material existence. So, in this place that we are here, material world, this is something like this, where, what do you think? How easy it is to balance this person on that earth, on that ball? Is it very easy? Yeah, actually, our position is none different from this elephant, because the platform on which we are standing is a very tottering platform. Any moment we can fall and we can die, right? It's a slippery platform. What do you mean by slippery platform? Well, you take the example, recently we all had this experience of this global pandemic, which no one had anticipated, no one knew. Life was going on with full confidence, with full vigor and everything. The whole world came to a standstill. One pandemic. Who knows, now they are saying that it is stopped, but who knows that, there could be another variant. We keep hearing so many things. The reason what happens is, when the vision is blocked, or the vision has got cataract, or the material contaminations, it makes us forget our mortality in this material world. We forget that we are subject to the platform of death. Any moment it can be taken away from us. That's why this is not a place where we can be secure and safe and make plans that I'll be here permanently with all my family members and enjoy. No, the platform on which we are standing, that we don't see when the vision is blocked, we think that it makes us forget. That is the wonderful verse of Mahabharata, where Yudhishthir Maharaj, when he was answering these questions of Yaksha, when Yaksha asked him, what is the most wonderful thing? And Yudhishthir Maharaj replies, Ahani ahani bhutani gachanti hi yamalayam sesa sthabaram icchanti kimascharya mathoparam. Ahani ahani bhutani. Every second, every little fraction of time, ahani ahani bhutani gachanti hi yamalayam. People are dying and they are going to Yamalayam. We see in our own lives, our grandfather, their father, they are all no more. Just mere names. Ahani ahani bhutani gachanti hi yamalayam sesa sthabaram. The people, all of us who are staying, we are thinking this is not going to happen to us. We see, yet we don't want to see. And this is something which is very, very scary. The similar thing is there in Bhagavad Gita also, where it is mentioned, Utkramantam sthitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam vimudha nanu pashyanti jnana chakshusha. Utkramantam sthitam vapi. Utkramantam is to quit the body. Sthitam vapi, or when the soul is there inside the body. Bhunjanam va gunanvitam. When somebody is enjoying or somebody is under the influence of the modes of material nature. Vimudha nanu pashyanti. A person who's foolish, who doesn't have vision, anupashyanti, he's not able to see this. He thinks, still I can do something, I can make some course correction, I can make myself secure or safe. Imagine, hypothetically, if we are there now in Ukraine or in Russia, right? What would have happened to us? The people who are there, the citizens of Ukraine or Russia, they didn't know that, these two countries are going to be in war. But it has happened, and their life is always in danger. It's kind of a threat. We think we are now safe. We don't know what is in store tomorrow. What is in store? It could not be. It may not be a war. It may not be a pandemic. It may be a small little thing, and that small little thing can topple, can take away all our plans, can make us, just go away in the oblivion of time. Utkramantam sthitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam vimudha nanu pashyanti jnana chakshusha. That is why one needs to develop a vision of jnana chakshu. Jnana chakshu vision, when it comes, by the vision of knowledge, one can see things. Bhagavatam also says, Dehapatya kalatradeshu atma sainyeshu asatsu api tesham pramatta nidhanam pashyanapi na pashyati. We see, yet we don't see, and we get carried away, mad in this material world, engrossed. Dehapatya, first line of defense is our own body. If any problem comes, we think we'll be able to protect ourselves by the strong body. Apatya is our children. We produce many children, and we think we have grown up strong children, they will come to my rescue. Dehapatya, kalatra. Kalatra is the spouses. And there is a word used there called adi. Dehapatya kalatradishu atma sainyeshu asatsuapi. And we consider them to be our own soldiers. But what we don't see, that they are all fallible. Asatsuapi. We don't see that word asat. They are all fallible. Adi also refers to bank balance, insurance, tax shelter, whatever it is. Dehapatya kalatradishu atma sainyeshu asatsuapi tesham pramatta nidhanam. They are all getting destroyed in due course of time, in the crushing wheel of time. Yet we see, yet we don't see. Pashyanapi na pashyati. So what we really need to see, we really need to see that the body itself that we have been given, it's a given thing. It is not our own body. It is given to us. It's a temporary construct. And this temporary construct is working because it is working under the direction of the Supreme Lord who is seated in our heart. What is that? Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridya se arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. So it's a machine which is working as long as the spirit soul is present inside it. The moment the spirit soul leaves the body, it's over. And it is given to us by the material nature. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridya se arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. So this is given to material. This is given to us by material nature based on those desires that we have. I want to enjoy in this particular way. I want to enjoy in that particular way, and that is how this body is given. And this karma bijas, as long as we have got these desires in our heart, we keep getting one body after another, but we don't realize that actually we are eternal. Najayate na mriyate va kadachin, nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyo, ajo nitya saswato ayam purano, nahanyate hanyamane sarire. The sarira is going to be destroyed. But because of this karma bija, I am accepting another body, and I am continuing with this way. One intelligent person may question, how did this start? Why did I get into this kind of a situation? First of all, many people don't realize that this place is a scary, precarious place where anything can happen to me and I can be taken away, and I'm subjected to all these problems like pandemic, some war, some pestilence, some kind of things which I never thought of. Then my own body, which in some due course of time it will become old. What is that? They use something called cracked skin or some wrinkles and all. Then you search in Google, what should I do? How do I prevent myself? It's not a very good thing, not a pleasant thing. But it happens, and then finally everything is taken away in the form of death. Question comes, how did this start? Beautiful explanation by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he is instructing this to Sanatana Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, I'll come to this a little later. He says, Krishna bhuli sei jiva anadi bahirmukha, ateva maya tare de samsara dukkha. Krishna bhuli sei jiva anadi bahirmukha. From a very long time, somehow, because we are part and parcel of the Lord, we have those tiny, minute independence. Misusing that tiny, minute independence, we became averse to Krishna. Krishna bhuli sai jiva anadi bahirmukha. We turned our face away from Krishna. Ateva maya tarade samsara dukkha. Hence, ateva is hence. Therefore, maya tarade samsara dukkha. Maya is giving us this samsara dukkha. Forgetting Krishna, the living entity has been attracted by the external feature from time immemorial. Therefore, the illusory energy, Maya, gives him all kinds of misery in his material existence. More unfortunate situation than this is, people don't understand that they are in this precarious situation, because the first external energy, the way it acts is, it covers our jnana. Avrutam jnana rupena jnanina nitya vairina. When this karma, the desires to enjoy are so strong inside us, then first thing happens is there is a curtain. Abrutam jnana vairina. So when the curtain comes, you forget everything. You forget that one day we have to die, we have to leave everything. Everything is forgotten. So that happens, and when that happens, the desire to enjoy increases more and more in the heart. Then the next potency, the next way the Maya works is Prakshapatmika Sakti. It puts us in the deep ocean of Maya where we are completely entangled. And when somebody even tells, pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, they come and they try to awaken us. If a person is really, very unfortunate, these words also will not penetrate. This will not go. Even if, we come to this devotional service, we get distracted by so many problems. When it is required to do things, the most important things in the right mindful way, Maya will try to take us away. Maya will say, no, this is not good. Don't go and attend class, or don't go and be part of discussions. Live in your own world, no? You are doing some chanting or something. We should always remember, there is a verse that you can repeat after me. It happened to Arjuna. In his case, Krishna was physically present next to him. Yet, there is this verse which comes in, we are reading now these days, Bhagavad Gita, first chapter. Bepatuscha sarire me, Roma harshascha jayate, Gandibam shramsate hastad, Tvakchaiva paridahyate. Sanskrit is very powerful. They very graphically capture the emotions in the state of a helpless person. Bepatus. Actually, the word used there is not W, it is V. Vepatus. Vepatus cha sarire me. Roma harshas cha jayate. Vepatus means his body is trembling. Vepatus cha sarire me. Roma harshas cha jayate. And the hairs are standing on his body. Romaharsascha jayate. There is a person who's mentioned in Bhagavatam. His name is Romaharshana Sutta. What is Romaharshana means? No. What is the meaning? Yeah, Romaharsa, actually, when somebody hears the glories of the Lord, his hairs are all automatically standing. Romaharshana Sutta. Anyway, so Vepatuscha, the body is trembling. Vepatuscha sarire me Romaharshascha jayate. The hairs are standing. Gandivam shramsate hastat. That same Gandiva bow which Arjuna is very proud of is slipping from his hand. Gandivam shramsate hastat tvakchaiva paridahyate. The skin is burning. This can happen to any one of us. People come and take up to this process of devotion, but they don't follow it properly. They have their own concoctions. They want to do things the way they want to. What happens is they lose taste in bhakti. Bhakti becomes mechanical, and by the time they realize it is too late, and they're out of this bhakti. Very easy to get out of it. Very difficult to stay here. So this is saying, forgetting Krishna, the living entity has been attracted by the external feature from time immemorial. Therefore, the illusory energy, Maya, gives him all kinds of misery in his material existence. And a very wonderful purport by Prabhupada. So Prabhupada is saying, when the living entity forgets his constitutional position as an eternal servant of Krishna, he is immediately entrapped by the illusory energy. This is how it all begins. External energy. The living entity is originally part and parcel of Krishna and is therefore the superior energy of Krishna. He is endowed with inconceivable minute energy that works inconceivably within this body. However, the living entity, forgetting his position, is situated in material energy. The living entity is called the material energy because by nature he is spiritual, but by forgetfulness he is situated in the material energy. Thus he has the power to live either in the material energy or in the spiritual energy. And for this reason, he is called marginal energy. Where is it mentioned in Bhagavad Gita? Not exactly. Yes. Yedam dharayat jagat. Aparayam itastwanyam prakritim viddhi me param. Jiva bhutam mahabaho yedam dharayat jagat. Very interesting to know actually why Krishna is telling that, the living entities, as long as you are speaking, please continue, don't ask questions. Living entity is originally part and parcel of Krishna and is therefore the superior energy of Krishna. It is mentioned, Bhumirapo analo vayu kham mano buddhirevacha ahankaraitiyam me bhinna prakriti rashtada. These are external energy, which is made up of these 5 gross elements and 3 subtle elements. Then he is telling aparayam itastu anyam. There is also inferior. Aparayam itastu anyam. There is another energy of the Lord that is also prakriti. Prakriti viddhi me param, but that is called jiva bhuta. Because jiva bhuta is superior to this other 8 elements which are mentioned, yayadam dharayat jagat. They are able to control, or they are able to sustain this material world. Just like the spirit soul, as long as there inside this body, in this temporary construct, the body is animated, is active. But the moment the spirit soul leaves, that's all. The body is of no use. So he is endowed with inconceivable minute energy that works inconceivably within this body. However, the living entity, forgetting his position, is situated in material energy. The living entity is called the marginal energy because by nature he is spiritual, but by forgetfulness he is situated in the material energy. Thus he has the power to live either in the material energy or in the spiritual energy, and for this reason he is called marginal energy. Being in the marginal position, he is sometimes attracted by the external illusory energy, and this is the beginning of his material life. This is what we are in right now. When he enters the material energy, he is subjected to the threefold time measurement: past, present and future. Past, present and future belong only to the material world. They do not exist in the spiritual world. The living entity is eternal and he existed before the creation of this material world. Unfortunately, he has forgotten his relationship with Krishna. The living entity's forgetfulness is described herein as anadi, which indicates that it has existed since time immemorial. One should understand that due to his desire to enjoy himself in competition with Krishna, the living entity comes into material existence. Very wonderful description actually. The purport and this verse is very powerful. So it says how we have come into this existence. What is the problem with this material energy and how we have been captivated by this. And we are trying to struggle to make arrangements to somehow be safe or to somehow, protect ourselves in this tottering platform, and how this attempt will never be successful. There is a very wonderful song I saw in one of the Back to Godhead magazine, which talks about the downfall of the soul and the redemption, or how he can go back. It's a very interesting read. So it says, where Krishna lies, felicity abounds with pure simplicity, with loving sensibility, and all serve him with humility. So where Krishna lies, actually the spiritual world, felicity, the description of spiritual world is so vivid, so wonderful as it is given in in various places, especially in Brahma Samhita, Shriya Kanta Parama Purushaha, where there are thousands, millions of Lakshmis who are serving Krishna, and it has got those wish-fulfilling desire trees, the Kalpatarus. It can fulfill all the desires. Here you go to any tree, like we have this acorn tree here, acorn fruits are coming. You can't get mango fruits from an acorn tree. You can't get a guava from a mango tree. It is not possible. But spiritual world is filled with kalpatarus, where it can fulfill all your desires. And there is Surabhi cow, which can give unlimited milk. So where Krishna lies, felicity abounds with pure simplicity, with loving sensibility, and all serve him with humility. And everybody was engaged, each one of us, we were engaged in serving the Supreme Lord with humility. But when a living entity rejects his true identity and out of sheer stupidity surrenders to cupidity, he loses all sagacity and with it all capacity to understand reality and curb his sensuality. Abandoning humility, he touts his own ability. Forgetting his capability and fortune's volatility, immersed in assimility for what seems an infinity of lives of piety, he suffers in anxiety. Very wonderfully written, actually very vividly captured. When a living entity rejects his true identity, we are a minute part and parcel of the Lord, but when he rejects that true identity, that we are spirit soul, out of sheer stupidity, Kunti Maharani, great Acharya, and to say it honestly, has written some wonderful prayers. I mean, those prayers that she has offered is so wonderful. There is one place where she says, Avidya Kama Karma Bhi. Exactly. Bhavesmin Klishyamananam Avidya Kama Karma Bhi Shravana Smarana Rahani Karishyaniti Kechana. Very, very powerful verse. Bhavesmin Klishyamananam. Bhava is a thing which is constantly changing. Who likes to have changes? But imagine how our body is constantly changing. For the spirit soul, it is not a pleasant thing. We are forced to accept different changes in our bodies. Bhavesmin klishyamananam. So we accept old age, we accept diseases, we accept death. Bhavesmin, and this material world is a ocean of this birth and death, cycle of birth and death. Bhavesmin klishyamananam. Klishyamananam is a very troublesome place. Bhavesmin klishyamananam avidya kama karma bhi. So out of stupidity, out of sheer stupidity, because of ignorance, because of stupidity, we are here in this material world and accepting this, trying to adjust ourselves. Bhavesmin klishyamananam avidya kama karma bhi. Because of ignorance, we have desires to enjoy in a different way, and because of those desires, we are doing actions, and those actions are giving us reactions, and the cycle of this birth and death is continuing. Rejects his true identity and out of sheer stupidity surrenders to cupidity. Cupidity is nothing but the kama, and he loses all sagacity. With it all capacity to understand the reality and curb his sensuality, abandoning humility, he touts his own ability. Touts is just to show off. Forgetting his capability, fortune's volatility, Immersed in assimility, for what seems an infinity of lives of piety, he suffers in anxiety. This is how the living entity suffers in this material world. So, before we conclude, because the conclusion is very important, we understand the position, but we should see what Vedavyas could see. How could he see this? What enabled him to see this? How did he develop that vision? So there are three important words in this verse, if you remember this. First is Bhakti Yogena Manasi. You want to see the absolute truth, you want to understand the absolute truth, the only way it is possible is by the linking process of devotional service. Bhakti Yogena Manasi. When we link ourselves with the process of devotion, this is a chance. Actually, no other living entities, all of us are trapped in different bodies. None other living entities can understand the way to come out of this cycle of birth and death, can understand the process of coming out of this eternal process of misery and suffering. Only human beings. So human beings can use their intellect, can engage that in Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yogena Manasi. When somebody engages in Bhakti Yoga, he can be free, amale, he becomes free from all the contaminations. And he can see the Supreme Absolute Truth as he is. Bhakti Yogena Manasi. Then there is another word which is used, is called Purusham Purnam. Who is that Supreme Lord? Is it some kind of a person who is like any one of us? Purusham Purnam. He is filled with all opulences. Om Purnamadah, Om Purnamidah, Purnat Purnam Udachyate. No, Purnasya Purnam Adaya, Udachyate, Purnasya Purnam Adaya, Purnameva Vashishyate. He's complete, he's perfect. Prabhupada uses perfect and complete, the same word Purnam. That perfect, complete person one can see. Bhakti Yogena Manasi, Purusham Purnam. And there is another one which is used, Mayam Chatadapashrayam. This Maya which is troubling us, which is creating so much of havoc in our life, which is tormenting us, making us forgetful of our real position. That Maya is surrendered to the Lord. Mayam Chatadapashrayam. It is standing with folded hands before the Lord. So if we just take shelter of Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yogena Manasi, then we will take shelter of Purusham Purnam, the Supreme Lord, and the turbulence or the difficulty of Maya will not affect us. The song that I was sharing, there is a second part to this. So we came till the position where he is suffering. He suffers in anxiety. Then what happens? Then there is a hope. Till contact with God's devotees, perhaps of utmost brevity, awakens his affinity for words of divinity. Perceiving the futility of all his imbecility, the soul regains his sanity and cast away his vanity. Endowed with more humility, he serves with all ability, and growing spontaneity, his guru and deity, regaining his identity, the wayward living entity returns to the fraternity of Krishna for eternity. The transformation happens, the turning point happens in a person's life is when somebody comes in touch with a pure devotee of the Lord. Till contact with God's devotee, perhaps of utmost brevity, even if it is for a very short time. If that happens, that is what is the biggest turning point. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadapaya Bhaktilata Bij. Amongst all those karma bij which are there in our heart, which are different desires which we are trying to fulfill, there is a Bhaktilata bij which comes. How does it come? Despite, we are wandering in different bodies in this material world, going up and down, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavanji, one fortunate soul gets this seed of bhakti, Guru Krishna Prasadapaya Bhaktilata Bij. He gets the seed of bhakti, the creeper of bhakti comes in the heart. Even if it is a very small time. Where is it mentioned in Bhagavatam? Tuleyama labhenapi, na punar, tuleyama labhenapi, na swargam na punarbhavam, matyanam ki mutasisham. Tuleyama labhenapi. Even if a moment's association, not even a moment's association with a pure devotee can bring that transformation, can develop that affinity for words of divinity. Right now in our conditioned state, because we have forgotten our true identity, so engrossed, anadi, from time immemorial we are here, the affinity towards the Lord, the affinity towards his words are also not coming. But what is the process? How do we recover? The process is we have to keep trying. Like for example, when somebody meets with an accident, let's say his leg is fractured, he knows how to walk, but he has now, there is plaster and things like that, and when the plaster is removed, still a person needs to practice, to learn, and then he knows how to walk, then he will be able to walk. Similarly, we have forgotten our true identity, we have forgotten our true position of being the servant of the Lord, and we are trying to serve all other things in this material world, our own mind, senses, desires, and we are busy doing that. But when we come in touch with a pure devotee, we develop there is an awakening of the affinity towards the Supreme Lord, and then we start doing this, following this, even though we don't like it, we naturally will come to the state of spontaneity. Perceiving the futility of all his imbecility, the soul regains his sanity and cast away his vanity. Endowed with more humility, he serves with all ability, and growing spontaneity, his guru and deity, regaining his identity. The wayward living entity returns to the fraternity of Krishna for eternity. I think I'll stop here. This is the important instruction or important message of what Vyasadeva saw. It's powerful. The next 3-4 verses, he will come to this conclusion of writing Bhagavatam. Why this Bhagavatam is so important to us in life. We will see that. I'll stop here and see if you have any questions or comments.
So in the world that we live in now, where we have several commitments which is being pushed on us, and we kind of sail through it. So this devotion that we are talking about, right? Like, so the basic 4 principles, following that, and 16 rounds of chanting, does that equal in the current situation? Can be considered as pure devotion? Like, how do we?
No, pure devotion. The definition of pure devotion is anya vilasita sunyam, jnana karmadi anavratam, anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttama. You have all material desires, everything you want to pursue, and you also come and you say, I'll follow some 4 regulative principles. Okay, chanting is like a mechanical thing. I'll do some 16 rounds of chanting and I'll go back. That is not pure devotion. But if you start at least the process of chanting, it is a beginning. It's a beginning of your devotional life. But pure devotion is a very high state. When you start chanting Hare Krishna mantra, automatically purification has started in the heart. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself says, Cheto darpana marjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam. Cheto darpana marjanam means our heart becomes getting cleansed of all the impurities. But the point is, one has to learn to chant inoffensively. Today morning we were reading the quote, inoffensive chanting is required. There are offenses against chanting. Chanting is the process which will bring you to the spiritual platform from all this, so-called distractions, attractions to material world and so many whatever duties, things that we have created for ourselves. It will uplift us. But then there is a process which has to be followed. It has to be followed properly. Many places, Prabhupada says in Janma Karma, Kunti Maharani's prayers, what is that? Janma Ishwarya Shuta Shrivir Edhamanam Adhapuman Naivarti Avidhatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gocharam. If you still continue to accelerate your Janma Ishwarya Shuta Shrivir, if you are still thinking how you will look beautiful, how you will accumulate material wealth, how will you amass more things like, possessions and things like that, then there is the way to chant qualitatively will not come. With helplessly to call out the Lord, that thing will not come. Because that has to be stopped. Those material acceleration to achieve or amass a lot of material things has to come to a stop. Then calling out the Lord will happen in the most meaningful way, in a qualitative way. There is a quality to the process of chanting. But the beginning is, if you are able to come to this, at least starting to chant 16 rounds and following 4 regulative principles, well done. You are at least in the platform of goodness. You are a human being. Otherwise, Prabhupada says, we're not even human being, because we're as good as animals, acting like animals. That is the minimum, that's the beginning, but there is more to it. Anybody has any question online? No question, we'll stop here and see what Vedavyas saw further in the future verses. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.